to call this meeting to order. Tonight we have invocation by Pastor Logan Landis.
Heavenly Father, you govern all things in heaven and on earth. Guide and direct our elected leaders across the nation, but especially we pray here for our own government here within our community. Let all things discussed be done in love and harmony, that all things in this community would be managed and cared for responsibly and in a manner pleasing to you. Thank you for the gift of this government and leadership. Guide the people of this community to support their elected leaders as their elected leaders support them. In all things, Lord, your will be done. We pray all this in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Mr. Mayor, real quick, I'd like to take just a second and recognize Miss Miriam Hicks, 7-year-old. She's here on her spring break, is learning about government in her class. She took time out of her spring break to be here to experience a little bit of Destin city government. So,
welcome!
Thanks for being here.
It's always refreshing to see someone who cares about government at your age. Okay, now we need approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Yes. Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's approved. I keep doing that backwards, don't I? We have some proclamations, under Proclamation Recognition, special public presentations tonight. We have the U.S. Coast Guard here to make a presentation. Yes, sir, if you'll come forward, please.
Press the red button on the microphone there. It's a long gray one. It'll turn red.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Council, the residents of Destin, for letting me come speak today. My name is Lieutenant Steve Browning. A little bit about me. I've been in the Coast Guard for 19 years. Traveled all around, to California, South Florida, New Orleans, South Louisiana, and now here in Panama City and Destin area. So I want to thank Chris for inviting me tonight. Hopefully I can answer some questions that everybody has, and hopefully not confuse or make things unclear, which it is definitely the voter regulations and the federal side of the house can be very difficult to interpret. So with that, I have my quick PowerPoint. I'm just going to touch on a couple things. I kind of want to paint the picture of the Coast Guard, right? So that's our active duty workforce that we have, about 40,000 people. We have 8,000 civilian workforce. And with me today is one of my civilian marine inspectors, commercial fishing vessel examiners, Phil Hand. He lives here in Destin, and he's a big promoter of the Destin community. He's been doing fishing boats and motor safety for 25, 30 years. So we have a reserve workforce, about 6,000 people. We'll go back. And then I want to point out our auxiliaries. The Coast Guard has a volunteer workforce. I'm a big promoter of it. I think there's some auxiliaries in the audience tonight. It's a 100% voluntary workforce, and we rely on them greatly to do a large mission from boater safety, recreational boater inspections, uninspected pasture vessels, containers, facilities, you name it. There's a lot of stuff. And then I want to compare it to the New York City Police Department. New York City Police Department is bigger than the total Coast Guard active duty workforce in the whole United States, Bahrain, everywhere. So, next slide, please, sir. So the Coast Guard in a whole, 11 general missions. Everybody looks and you see the Coast Guard as the life-saving mission, right? That's number one. That's the main thing we do is motor safety, life-saving, and then marine safety gets in the inspection side of the house is where I'm at. So next slide, please. So paint the picture of the Coast Guard in the Panhandle. Station Destin, they have 25 people assigned to their unit. Their head guy is Senior Chief Palmer. I'm pretty sure everybody has met him at a council meeting. They only have 25 people. During the day, they have 10 people that work 2 different shifts, so 2 different sections, port and starboard, that work 24 hours. So if you think about pictures, big pictures, and they have 2 boats running, the boat crew of 4 people, well, they got 8 people out of it's 80% of their workforce is out on the water. They can't be out on the water for 15, 20 hours during a day. They have bag hours, so they're trying to run boats at the same time. So think of that in big picture. You got a boat that has limited resources, limited time, limited personnel. Same thing with Station Panama City. My office, Marine Safety Detachment Panama City, there's 8 of us attached to the unit. There's technically no investigating officer in our unit in the Panhandle. The closest unit is Sector Mobile, who has 6 investigating officers. And they're in charge from Pascagoula all the way to St. Mark's. So, and then there's a couple other units that aren't big time players in the Destin area. So, next slide. All right. So, getting into the passenger vessel operations and safety. So, everybody here is familiar with it. The different types of boats. All right. So, just kind of get into it. We can kind of keep clicking through here. Different types of passengers, different types of passenger vessels. I look at it as 3 types. Recreational boats that are included bareboat charters, right? That's the big topic we're going to talk about tonight. And then get over to the commercial side of the house. Uninspected and inspected. The big number there is 6 passengers or 7 passengers, right? So uninspected passenger vessel is 6 or less. So just to get some of these stickers, this is the new 2022 recreational boater sticker. If you have this on your boat, you are only authorized to carry recreational, no passengers, excuse me. Bareboat charters can have this on there. The pontoon rentals, the library vessels can have this on their pontoon boats. Basically says the Coast Guard auxiliaries come and their boat's safe, and it has a fire extinguisher, and it has a throwable, and it has life jackets for all the people on board. So next is a UPV sticker. This says I can carry passengers on my boat, but not more than 6 passengers. This is big. It's a voluntary program. Our auxiliary and Mr. Hand also administers this exam at Destin. It's relatively basic. It's only a couple more things more than a recreational boater. But the biggest thing, if you have 1 passenger on board your boat, you're
Please stay
required-
close to the mic because this is on YouTube.
Sorry, I'm a mover. I'm a mover and a talker. Oh, we won't do that. I'll just stand closer. Big thing with these is it has to be a licensed Coast Guard credential mariner. If you're going to carry a passenger for hire, you have to have a Coast Guard credentialed mariner on board, period. That's it. Anybody pays, and payment is monetary. It could be fuel. It could be tickets to the Final Four in New Orleans. If there is a consideration of value exchange for a trip out on your boat, you just became a paying passenger. So that's a key point to make in all of this. And it only takes 1 passenger to pay. So it can't be Steve Browning and 5 of his buddies. But I'm the only one paying, so it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not a inspected boat. But it just takes 1. And then if you have inspected boats, and there's a ton of them in Destin, right? They see this sticker, you go on board, it has to be displayed in a window. If you go on any of the boats that carry more than 6 passengers, you're going to see this sticker in the window. If you don't, that's an issue, and that could be potentially illegal charter. It gets into small and big vessels when you go more or less than 100 gross tons. I'm not sure how many, if any, 100 gross tons passenger vessels we have in Destin. So, next slide. Passenger, exactly what I talked about, right? Anybody that's carried on a vessel except a master or crew. Passenger for hire. Any passenger that gives considerations. Next slide. All it takes is 1 passenger for hire, and it prevents people from skirting the laws from having only 1 person in group pay. There's just a quick example of a credential. There's different sizes, and we'll get into all the details, but you have a UPV license, and people ask me, how hard is it to get a license? It's not difficult, right? You can go to pay the $1,000 to do a week-long training, and you have to prove that you did 365 hours on board a boat. That could be your dad's pontoon boat that you had growing up. That could be you're in the Coast Guard and you were riding out on a Coast Guard boat or driving coxswain. There's different types of ways you can get that in, and you just have to show proof that you've been on a boat for 365 days. Recreational boat, that's for pleasure. You own it, your friends own it, you're going out, hanging out, having a good time. You know, if we talk about for leisure, for if you're a paying passenger, if you guys have got a bunch of buddies going out on your fishing boat, you know, 10 of you, and everybody's chipping in money for fuel, and it's definitive that you guys are a group of friends, nobody's going to come out and give you a hard time. You know, that's if it's everybody's, you know, hey, I'm going to bring the case of beer and we're going to have a good time. Nobody's going after you for that. So, next slide. This is when it starts getting to uninspected pasture vessels. Less than 6 passengers, 100 gross tons or more, that gets into the 12 passengers. You have to have a licensed operator, OUPV. And they're not inspected by the Coast Guard. Like we talk about this sticker, it's a completely voluntary program. The auxiliarist and a few of our vessel inspectors do the program. It's free of charge. I'm a huge proponent because it's free. It's absolutely free. How much stuff in the government you get for free? And you can use it for marketing. You say your Coast Guard's certified to carry up to 6 passengers. So it's huge. That's my pitch for the Coast Guard auxiliaries to come and do an UPV inspection. Next slide. So get into bareboat charters. It's a contract between the owner and the charter. And if you really want to, you know, you're bored one night and you want to fall asleep, you can read that Pasture Vessels Safety Act of 1993, and then there's a NAVIC vessel information that the Coast Guard puts out and kind of breaks it down for you. I think it's, I don't know, 60 pages or so. So it goes in there and specifically states what a valid bareboat charter is. All right. So a couple of things. Bareboat charters, the owner has to completely relinquish that control of that boat, right? And when you're talking bareboat charters, you're staying in that recreational boater lane, 100% recreational boater lane. So you're not required to have that licensed captain on board. You take control of the boat. It's my boat now. I chartered it, so I am 100% responsible for this boat. Safe navigation. If I get stopped by the Coast Guard, stopped by FWC, and there's a violation for no fire extinguisher, that's on me because I pretty much own the boat now. Provides compensation to the owner and responsible safe legal. Okay. The master. So if I borrow this boat from Phil, or like Phil, here's $1,000. I'm taking your pontoon boat out. Same thing. It's a livery essentially. You're running every livery vessel, pontoon boat is a bareboat charter. It's 100%. I'm taking control of the boat. I sign the agreement. Have a nice day. Steve Browning and his 11 friends are going to go have a good day on the water. Now, if that company, if Phil owns his pontoon boat and he wants to rent that boat out, but he's, I put a lot of money. This is a 40, 50, $5 million vessel. I want to ensure that the person driving this boat knows what they're doing. I'm not just going to give it to Steve that doesn't have a license or doesn't know how to operate in Destin or drive out of Destin Pass. So he may say, you know what, I'm going to require whoever rents my boat to have a Coast Guard credentialed mariner drive it. Perfectly within his right. He absolutely can. And you can click the next slide. Next slide, please. Sorry, my writing is a little smaller than I anticipated. Okay, so as far as the regulations of bareboat charters, the vessel, the captain, is not required to have a Coast Guard license. That's why it stays in that rec boater lane, 100%. Now, like I said, if Phil's company requires the Coast Guard captain to drive his boat, then he can have that in the agreement with whoever was Steve Browning company when I rent the boat. Like, all right, now I have to go out and find a licensed captain. How do I do that? I'm from Kansas, and how do I find a licensed captain in Destin? Like, oh, funny you should ask. Here's a license of 5, 10, 15 captains in the area. You call them at your pleasure, and you deal with that. So that's where it kind of gets tricky with the charter, Steve Browning. When I get the boat from Phil, I have to have 110% control over who I pick to drive the boat, who I hire, and it has to be who I hire. If Phil gives me the boat and he's like, hey, here you go, here's the captain, here's a deckhand to help you guys out and have a good day, all you 10 Kansans, and have a good day on our water, that just became an illegal charter. Phil supplied the captain and the crew. You can't do it. I have to have 100% control. If He gives me a list, which they've determined a list is an acceptable means to provide and get that, still giving the charter an opportunity to select a captain. So I can call down the list. Now, from an enforcement standpoint, if I'm looking at this list and I find the list, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to call them. And I love calling random numbers and plans and everything like that, so I'll call all 5 people. If 4 of them go to a busy tone and only 1 answers, well, that's just an illegal charter, because he has individually given a swim lane where only 1 possible captain can be hired. That's an illegal charter because now he's providing the captain. Next slide, please. So, one big thing when we talk about passengers, the Pasture Vessels, the Vessel and Passenger Safety Act, it says a passenger is someone that is on the boat. At this point, if I charter the boat, I'm not a passenger. I'm a charterer. So I am not included in those 12 people. So you can technically, and you'll see in my slide, it says 12 plus 1 or crew, because that 12 people does not count the crew. So if you have a pontoon boat that can hold 20 people, and I have a master and I have 8 crew members, then you're legal, right? I'm still going to throw the flag on it and call out every crew member, because if that crew member doesn't know anything about the boat or doesn't know how to flow a life ring or rescue somebody out of the water, you're not really a crew member, you're a passenger at that point. So that's questions on our side of the house, FWC's side of the house, and questions to ask to determine if it is an illegal charter by a bareboat charter. The big thing is that line at the bottom, the charter, Steve Browning. When I get that boat, I have complete control over it. If I don't like the captain that I picked off that list, he's gone. I fired him. He's done. So that means I have to go down the list and hire another one. I have to go down the list and hire another one. I'm not sure how often it happens, if it ever does. You know, if I'm going out having a few drinks and having fun with my family and I'm at Crab Island and this guy's just hanging out on the boat, he's like, where do you want to go next? I want to go over there. Okay, let's go over there. You know, so I don't know how often that it comes to a situation where they want to fire a captain. Next slide, please. Okay. Big case in point. The owner cannot be on board the boat. Period. That's said and done. If I come up on the board of the boat and I see vessel registration and it's Phil Hand and Phil Hand's on the boat, that's no good. Done. It's an illegal charter right then and there. And he can't. Anytime he tries to show retention in it, right? It's my boat. You can only do what I say on it. Boom. That's an illegal charter. He can't. He has to relinquish all control of the boat. Next slide, please. Credentialing, we won't get too much into that, but the UPV, and then, you know, if they have over 7 passengers. Next slide. All right, so I threw this in there with talks with Chris and the city of Destin, you know, the library, the terminology. It is new to me. This isn't a federal term that the Coast Guard really plays with all that much. So whenever a vessel is under control of a Coast Guard credential mariner, then it's not considered a library vessel. And that's the big thing. How do you determine? How do you guys know? How do you know if FWC, if the code of compliance pulls somebody over, how are they going to know? You know, if you're a mariner and you're charged as a captain on a boat, you're supposed to have a license on you at all times. You know, sometimes they don't, and we're gonna hold a letter to the law. Like if you're driving, you get pulled over, you don't have a driver's license on you, you can bring it, you can show it, and it usually gets thrown out. Same thing. I can call back. I have a full access to our Merchant Mariner credential database. It's very easy for me to do a search. I can do it in about 5 minutes on my computer. If it comes down to it, and you guys are the board and the council, whoever, the code compliance, if they get these requests for library, and we're gonna have Coast Guard captains on board our boats, that's perfectly fine. You can get the name, you can call me, you can send me an email, I can look up in the database, hey, yep, these 5 people, they have a license, these 5 people, they don't. So that they can't be considered in the library clause if they don't have a license. So very easy for me to check. It's very easy to get licenses taken away. You get a DUI on the street, DUI, it's gone. Anytime you do drugs, it's gone. Anything like that. Boating accidents, sometimes accidents happen. That's when it comes to me to investigate to see if it was negligence on the mariner or if, things just happen. So I just put at the bottom recommended however the library and stuff goes, if people submit their names to captains, then we can verify in the office. Pretty simple and easy. Next time. I think that's kind of a quick down and dirty. Hope I didn't talk too fast, confuse people more, but I am definitely available for any questions that y'all may have.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. We've been looking forward to you for a while.
I apologize.
all right.
I apologize about the last meeting.
That's okay.
My bad. Chris called me, at 5:30, and he's like, "Hey, you gonna make it here?" And I'm like, "I'm upstairs playing with my two youngest boys." So I apologize. I had the date confused. That was on my fault.
That's okay. Thanks a lot for coming. We get a lot of complaints of captain vessels. People are chartering their pontoon boats, or they'll have, I guess it'd be a private person, have a pontoon boat, and they'll have it out. I guess if he takes more than 12 people out on a pontoon boat, he just says, we're all family and friends, you're not paying me to take you out. So we got 14 people on a pontoon boat. Is that illegal for me to charter my boat or to take 14 tourists out
If they're paying you.
if they're paying me?
So it's a challenge. It's a challenge for the Coast Guard, right? Because everybody sees people, and if they're coached per se, hey, we're friends. We're friends. Tell the Coast Guard if we get boarded, we're friends. You're my family from North Dakota. You're my dad's friends. You're my dad's business party. I'm doing a favor for my dad. And these are 100% real excuses that we have heard, and it happens. It's hard. It's hard on our point. How do we say, no, you're lying to me right now? A lot of things have changed recently. We've reached out to our legal team is in District 8, which is in New Orleans. We have reached out to them. We're able now to give on-the-spot notice of violations. And I don't have it on my slide, but there's different ones. And they can be 500, 1,000, and you can tack on, 8 violations or so. And those can be on the spot tickets, income notice of violations. The other thing is we're issuing cap in the port orders, right? So cap in the port order is a controlling mechanism for any type of vessel, maritime, on the waters, tributaries to, and Captain Allen in Mobile has given designated authority. If we pull over and deemed illegal charter, we issue a cap in the port order on the spot. You're not allowed to carry passengers. Then you have to call me, figure out a way to tell me what you're trying to do, get within legal parameters, and then we amend the cap in the port order. Now, violation of the cap in the port order, I believe the violation is up to $103,000 per day per violation, for violation of it. So we do currently have a multi-million-dollar ticket going up to a hearing officer right now for that exact violation.
So if someone is advertising for their pontoon boat and they take people out and you stop them and there's 14 people on the boat, well, it's not a charter, we're all friends, we're all family or whatever, can you not ID the captain and then get some IDs from the crew?
Absolutely.
Or the people and see that the guy running the boat is local, but everybody else is from Wisconsin?
Yep.
And then the next time you see this guy, you pull him over, okay, he's the same guy, lives here in Niceville. All these guys are from Carolinas.
Yep.
These aren't family and friends anymore. I mean, or is that still a hard case to prove?
I think it's difficult because of the nature of Destin. There's so many boats out there. And we talk about, like I said, Station Destin with Senior Chief Palmer. He has 25 people. It means he has 10 people that are boarding boats. And they may go out on a 2-hour case. They yell at 15 jet skis. They got to run offshore 5 miles to pick up a kid that hit his head. They're not out there. They can't board boats constantly, and they can't do my marine safety of illegal charter missions 24/7. But you're exactly right. So even when we do these called MASFOs, where we have FWC, Okaloosa Sheriff's Office, and us out on the water, and we're pulling all this information from these boaters. If we do 50 boardings that day, we can go back and do casework, and we started some sort of a spreadsheet or a tracking mechanism for that specific reason. But it's very difficult. You board in the same boat, 3 months later, all right, is that still in the database, or is that still something we can track? You know, would that hold up in a court of law or to a hearing officer if we're writing this violation? You know, me specifically, I'm from Kansas. That's the Kansas jokes that I was throwing out. And, you know, I have family in North Carolina, Minnesota, South Florida, and a bunch of friends throughout the Coast Guard that I've met all over the country. So to single me out and say, like, oh, well, I have different friends coming from Cali or from North Carolina, you're 100% right. It's tough. It's super hard. And
So the bareboat, if a company rents their pontoon boat, gives you a list of 4 captains, and they pick a captain, and it has to be a licensed captain or no?
it does not.
Okay.
Coast Guard does not require, that Pasture Vessel Safety Act does not require that captain to have a license.
So they can hire somebody to take them out, captain or not, and they can have 14 people on that boat?
No, they're restricted to 12 passengers,
It's just
not
12.
including crew or the charter.
So, yeah, that was what they've
So-
been complaining to me, was if they have a licensed captain on the boat and they have over 6, then it has to be an inspected vessel at that point.
It's not, because it's in this bareboat charter gray swim lane. And I believe on one of these Facebook posts that I was trolling the other day on Okaloosa Sheriff's Office, Facebook page, they said, why don't they just get rid of this whole bareboat charter? Like, that would be a blessing. That would be absolutely make our job a lot easier. Let's just change, let's make inspected boats 12 or more passengers, uninspected boats 12 or less passengers, or, you know, vice versa, cut the number there. Answer that is good luck getting congressional approval to change something like that. So,
My last comment is that we have a lot of complaints. I know we have a lot of them. The bay boats, people running charters. A lot of them have captain's license. A lot of them don't. Running from their own house, or they put it into boat ramp and pick people up. Running out to federal waters and fishing out there without a license, permits and all that. So I've heard you guys have been targeting those people, or not targeting, but, you know, cracking down on it. And I just want to say thank you for that, and anything else you can do to help us, you know, crack down on it, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
And thanks again for coming tonight.
absolutely, thank you. Well, one last thing I meant to say is, in part of that, where we're trying to find out if the passenger is paid or not, we're going to be doing witness statements and then signing declarations at the bottom. Like, did you pay? No, I did not pay. All right, sign your name. If I come down and my casework leads that you did pay, or I find evidence that you did pay, that individual, that passenger, is now subject to a $500 violation. So that is going to come down. That's the hardest thing we're trying to get, is how do we hold that passenger liable for basically essentially lying to us and claiming that, you know, they were coached into saying they were friends and family.
That's got to deter a lot of it. I mean, like I said, couldn't hold it in court, but it would definitely deter me, that if I was doing it, and I said, well, Coast Guard, they're steadily checking people, asking questions and whatnot, you know, I don't want to take that risk.
And to go back to kind of the vision of the Coast Guard, you know, Station Destin, these are, you know, a lot of our boarding team members. This isn't their primary mission, you know, and them going out and asking those questions. And really, you're talking about an investigator, a detective, somebody trying to get the lie out of people. And it is kind of hard for that, you know, 22-year-old kid that, you know, just joined the Coast Guard, and he's going on a patrol and thinking about, you know, saving lives and protecting people in the waterway. So, yes, I rely on Station Destin to do these boardings, but a lot of times it's not their primary mission, and it's a little more investigative, or, you know, that next skill set that they really need that they don't have. You know, and I talk about my job. I'm in Panama City, and I'm not an investigator. An investigator is one of the jobs I do. I'm the Marine Safety Detachment Supervisor. So I have a shop of 10 people. We run pollution. We run Eastern Shipyard building, New York Staten Island ferries. And we run the facilities and the ports and everything like that. So I have my shop to run, and then I get a call about an illegal charter in Destin. Say it's on a Saturday. I'm, you know, at soccer practice with my 5-year-old. There's nobody else coming. It's Steve Browning, you know. So if somebody cuts their arm, breaks their arm or something, or, you know, God forbid somebody drowns on a commercial vessel, it's me, and I have to figure out a way to handle what I need to handle at Frank Brown Park in Panama City and get over to Destin on a Saturday in July. So it's a tough challenge, and I wish we had more Coast Guard investigating officer stationed in Destin. That would be ideal for everything, and I would love it. it's tough. It's tough.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 or 3 questions, really.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, thank you for your service. I did my 20 years in the Navy, and I was the senior chief. That's why I thought Palmer was coming tonight. But we appreciate what you do. We know you're undermanned and overworked. First of all, I know that you guys were aware of what happened last year with the Panama City spring breakers that are now, quote, coming to take over
Last
Destin.
weekend.
It's coming this weekend, the 9th, into Destin. Are you able to add any extra resources from some of your other areas just during the weekend because we are so undermanned as far as the Coast Guard goes? I mean, I know we have Fish and Wildlife, we have the sheriff, we have, our code compliance out there, but, if you were able to disperse a couple extra, groups to work the Saturday or the Sunday day shift over in Destin, just throwing that out there, spitballing it, not
Yeah.
saying do it,
No,
I'm just
no, that's-
letting you know that would be awesome. The second thing is to piggyback off of what Mr. Braden was talking about, these bareboat charters, they're putting it out on Facebook, hey, we're going to pick you up, and when you book and pay, we'll tell you which place to park your car, and we'll pick you up. You're not able to even verify those people as from what I understand, because you're really not investigating, you're just sort of trying to make sure people have their whistles and their life jackets, and this drunk driving, boater gets pulled over. I guess that's probably back on our code compliance to have more people. Is that how we can reinforce that?
Yeah, we do rely on the good players. Most of the people in Destin and the operators, they want to do the right thing. They want to go out and they want to keep everybody safe and make their money and support their business. Absolutely, 100% agree with it. And we rely on the eyes and the ears of the community to give us the information we need. Sometimes it's hard. If we don't see the actual name, we have the contact number, the vessel name, things of that nature. As far as going to the docks and I know Joe's Bayou is somewhere you're not supposed to pick up, do commercial service. A lot of them are like that. That's not really on the Coast Guard's, that's not on our vision or our swim lane to handle where they come from. If I go walk around to Joe's Bayou and pull up a illegal charter and they're, the family of 10 is getting out of their minivan from Ohio and they jump on this pontoon boat that's sitting on the dock for 30 minutes, it leads me to believe that person is picking up people for hire, and then I can walk right onto his boat and ask him questions at that
Well,
point.
yeah, that's kind of the other thing. I was, like we have one of the voters, one of our folks here that do all the paperwork and do all the licensing and get everything done appropriately, sent me this Wham Water Adventures. They come up from Miami and they're working in Destin and they have no license, and you can't even find out who they are until you've paid, and then they tell you where to be picked up at. I just wish there was a way we could get the word out that these are illegal boat runners, and if we catch you on them, it's basically you're doing a disservice to the businesses in Destin that are here to enjoy, their livelihood as well.
Absolutely.
That's my
Absolutely.
questions. Thank you. I'm sure there's others that want to ask you some stuff too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good point.
Sure, just to follow up, because that was a lot, and I appreciate it. And you're throwing UPVs and all
I know.
sorts of things all over the place. So
Apologize.
if you could let me just try to
Take the
bring it down a
military
little
out of
bit.
it.
What Ms. Hebert just said about this company is illegal, right? Did I not hear you though say that if that company has a licensed captain, they can charter the
Run 6 or less.
6 or less?
6 or less.
6 or less.
It doesn't matter
They're
how big the
licensed.
boat is. It doesn't matter if you,
Right.
have a freight ship and you want to take people out to 20 miles offshore. And bring
What do
them
you
back.
need for more than 6 though?
For more than 6, you have to be inspected by us.
Inspected. So let's
Inspected.
take that example. If that boat is an inspected boat
They're chartered
and
with
they're
a-
just a random company on a website, we don't know where they are, but they're inspected. Y'all inspected
They are
them.
inspected.
They can put 10 passengers or whatever.
50. 150.
50. But then
We got
I
on to
imagine then it comes
149.
into the city's code that they're not allowed to operate in certain locations, right? That's like legally they can do it
So
Coast Guard and federal, but now the city's saying but you can't do it at your residential location, or you can't do it at Joe's Bayou. Like, that's where we're then telling them they can't do that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes and no. So each inspected boat, not on,
Yes for our code. I don't know about his.
for the federal side of the house.
It's illegal, but they can't stop them if they've had their inspection done. They don't know they don't have a code in license.
Every boat gets a COI, certificate of inspection, that's inspected by us. We get on it annually, they come out of the water every 2 years, and we do a dry dock hull inspection. We give them that on that COI, and we give them what's called a routes and conditions section. It means they can operate. And I'm gonna tell you, anybody that has an inspected boat here, it probably says from this location, in the Captain Port Zone of Mobile, right? So they can't just run down to Miami and operate. So if you have a boat coming up from Miami and they just come in here.
Right.
Yeah, I doubt they do. But if they do, if they have that COI, they have to come and let us know. We call it a new to zone.
Okay.
And we'll get on board before they operate in Destin.
And then the example you gave earlier about the gentleman right here, where he owns the boat, and you as the customer pay him money, he gives you a list of captains to call, he's able to do that.
Yeah.
But
Because he
then-
is not providing the package deal. So
Okay.
think of it like the bareboat charter is that gray swim lane, right?
I get that,
So-
I get that,
Okay.
but then we're not allowing him to do that at his house in the city, though?
We're not allowing commercial activity in residential areas.
Is that considered a commercial activity that he as an individual,
If somebody
just
is-
resident, has a boat and he's following the laws of the Coast Guard,
We deem it as a recreational vessel.
he's doing that, is that recreational or is that a
If they
commercial
are-
activity?
If they are operating a commercial business out of their residential home, it would violate our code. So the determination would be, is it commercial? How frequently is it coming and going? Are they charging money? What's going on? But our code is different from Coast Guard.
Right, so then it
rules.
becomes a question of law of what does commercial mean, where he says, I'm doing it once every other week.
Yeah.
I'm taking money, but it's just my
Yeah,
boat.
yeah,
I mean, then we
because
have to
people-
then
yeah,
go
because
to arbitration, all that type of stuff, where,
Yeah, well,
can find-
it would become an evidentiary issue for
Gotcha.
us, because obviously someone can take
Sure.
a boat, their own boat,
Okay.
out of their home. But when you become a commercial entity in a residential zoning district, then you have a zoning code violation, which is entirely separate from what Coast Guard is talking about.
definitely. But he could do it legally under the laws of the waterways and all that stuff. Okay. Thank you so much for coming, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's
no
very
worries.
confusing stuff, so I commend you and the Fish and Wildlife and Sheriff's Department, everybody, and the auxiliary and civilians that go out there to fight the battles. So thank you, and I know there's other livery owners and that fight with you guys, so we appreciate it to shut down any illegal activity that is out there, as confusing as it is. We thank you for trying to stop it.
It's scary stuff. I mean, you got illegal charters out there, mariners that are just going to make a buck, and that's it. I don't really care about the safety, and they're hurting folks. And I get investigations and calls, and people drowning and getting hurt severely on boats. So if you guys have anything else for me, definitely get a hold of Chris. Chris has all my contact information. I don't know if I have it on the slide or in the presentation if Chris provided it, but I'm available anytime. I have the leash, the phone leash for the next year and a half that I'm stationed here. And so call me anytime, for sure.
Lieutenant Browning, thank you for being here,
Yes,
taking
sir.
time away from your family to give it to us. We really appreciate it. Thank them for us. I think it seems like maybe if you are familiar with this, it may be a little bit of an elephant in the room. In my opinion, it is. Kevin, you're trying to make sense of something that in a lot of ways doesn't make sense. And I would like your opinion on this, because I have friends and colleagues who own 60-foot sport fishing boats who have stability tests that say they can carry 11 people. And then, they beat me up at a city level, which it's not our responsibility, it's yours. Because every day there's livery guys and gals, please don't kill me, but there's pontoon boats driving through the harbor that are nose down in the water because they got 14 people on the bow of their boat. The credentials for what it takes to this is a frustrating thing to me, because we see it all the time. Do you have any kind of explanation for this? Because there's guys who have livery vessels who provide captains, and my understanding is That's not, is that legal?
No.
It's not legal. Okay.
So it depends. That's the touchy subject.
I get, there's so many
Package
facets to
deal,
this.
package deal versus a la carte. Think of it like that. You know, if Phil's providing his boat with the captain, with the crew, with a cooler full of beers and entertainment, that's a package deal. That's more than 6 people. It's illegal charter.
But remember, he said he has 10 people on the water, and we have over 1,700 bodies on different livery vessels all over Crab Island. So they just, it's like a needle in a haystack for them to figure out who's illegal. Am I right?
It is very hard. And I like your point, if Station Destin, if they're in the area and they see a pontoon boat with 12 people on board, because they're counting every time. They're passing pontoon boat, they're counting. And if they see 12, they're going to board it, period. Period. And it is frustrating. It's frustrating for the players that are doing everything legal. It's frustrating for these sports fishers that, you know, their boat can only carry, like you said, stability for 11, which just seems to be a common number. And then they see a pontoon boat, they don't have to meet stability, they don't have to do a dry dock, they don't have to get out of the water, and it's frustrating for the players that are doing 100% correct. Agreed.
And I'm sorry, I'm not frustrated at you. I'm frustrated at the system a little bit. Because it's, I mean, if you drive over, I drove over the Destin Bridge twice today, and just what I could see from the truck was a little outrageous, you know? And you spend any time on the water, we all do it. It's like, how is this even possible? How's this legal? Because most of what we're seeing is commercial
Entities.
vessels for the,
Yeah,
if you know, get what I'm saying.
It absolutely. We don't regulate how many boats, inspected, uninspected. That's not, we don't reach a magic number federally. If they come to us, they new to zone, hey, I want to be inspected, we're going to go inspect them. UPVs, hey, they're operating legally within the limits of bareboat charters or a UPV, they're operating legally, you know, on the federal level. So that's not something we can regulate. Crab Island's scary. You know, Senior Chief Palmer will tell you their boat's been hit, you know, and it's them coming out of that channel, out of the station is scary. You know, it's dangerous for them getting in and out what they need to do. So I agree 100%. That's your guys', that's in your realm. I was gonna say that's in your swim lane to figure out.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, because I'm sitting here listening to all this, and, you know, everybody up here has more maritime experience than I do. I'm an Army guy, but I think of this as I think of this as a three-dimensional chess thing. Okay, you've got you, and you've got your lanes, your swim lanes, and you've got the code guys, and the code folks, they have their swim lanes. You got the sheriff's office, you got the Fish and Wildlife, they have their lanes of what is legal, what's allowed, what's not allowed. And I'm thinking to myself, who's got the flow chart here? Does Chris have the flow chart? Because it starts, you know, somebody's got to have a flow chart that I can go, okay, it's a pontoon boat, it's got 18 people, don't know if it's got a captain, doesn't have a captain. Who do I call if I think somebody's doing something illegal? Because everybody's doing the best they can, but there's no plan, there's no document or process to follow to go. So, you know, the livery vessel operators, the good ones, they call and go, hey, you go check out this website. There's somebody from Miami advertising. Now, their boats may be up here. They may be in Panama City, but
Barry Joe's by, he
Yeah.
said he's loading up a bunch of people.
yeah.
I mean,
So,
it's Facebook, somebody was posting.
so I'm
today.
trying to understand the communication process and who starts the process. Is it our code folks? Do we call you? Does the sheriff call you? Who calls who? If I think I see a vessel that's, you know, overcrowded or the nose is in the water because they got 28 people on a pontoon boat, you know, I call the code guys. And I don't know, maybe they call the sheriff because that's outside. It may be, they're not going to call you because that may be legal in your world, or it may be illegal. So who's got this big flow chart that can help average people understand what the heck is right, what's wrong, and who I call if I think something's wrong?
That's a good point. And I think as government agencies, federal, state, and local, we need to get better. We need to get together we need to have our bullpen, and Chris is trying to arrange that so we can get FWC, Okaloosa, my office, Station Destin, the city, and everybody in a room, and let's talk about it. Fire department, whatever you want to talk, anybody that has any mission on the water, let's get in the same room and talk. I don't think it's ever happened before. When I took over the job, I got a cell phone, hey, the contacts are in it. And that's what I got. Senior last, because that's a lot. That's typical military, life. So, once we get this, Chris is calling it a coalition, similar to the livery boats. If we all get in the same room, we need to talk, and we need to discuss who to go to. One of our main sources of information and comms is Station Destin. They have that communication center there. It is operated by the junior person at the station. So that E3, E4, whoever it is. But they can get the information they need to. They can get it to Sector Mobile, which has the big command center that's manned 24 hours, and they handle everything, and they can dispatch helo, air support. They can contact local PD. They can contact Okaloosa sheriffs. So that's the main go-to would be Station Destin Command Center or anything like that, and they can get a hold of whoever they need.
Okay, because I would just ask the city manager to get Chris to develop that flow chart. Who's responsible for what, when? If it's more than 6 people, it's the Coast Guard, or if it's less than 6 people and they got a captain, it's nobody's responsibility. Or I'm just trying to figure out, follow all these little trails down these little rat holes, and it's
a lot.
It's a lot, and it's multi-layered, and the communication is, you've got the E3 that's, the command spec 4 or whatever that's right there on the radio and running the whole area or whatever until they're not. And so I just, for clarity's sake, would like to see something, who's on first and who's doing what to whom. What's the sheriff's responsibilities? We found out tonight what the Coast Guard, because we thought they were the magic bullet that was going to solve everything, but you're not. Huh? Yeah.
Yep, and then I was going to piggyback, because that was going to be my question. And I think this will be more directed to probably code compliance. So let's go off the water now. So this might just be piggybacking off your flow chart. If I see going down the road, I'm in a residential area that I live, and there's this pontoon boat that's washing their boat every day at the same time around 6 o'clock when people would be coming in. Who would we call if you're seeing something that would be the Joe's Bayou at the residential house? Would that be code compliance to kind of check that out? All right, thank you.
Yeah, we need to let Lieutenant leave.
No, I all the time. I think that's big. Chris is trying to develop this and bring all the players together, which is huge and what we need. And getting that list of those folks. What's the boat number? All right, is it on? What's the Rent My Boat, or what's that website? What's it called? Get My Boat. Yeah, I mean that's Airbnb for boaters, right? Everybody knows about it. We know about it. We had our little op the other day. We had 30 print-offs of it in targets. And we did get one target that was strictly off that list. And that's, we need to get better, and we'll always reserve the right to get better, get smarter, or surround us with people that are smarter than us, right? So we need to get that list and that database going so when a station pulls over a boat or you call in the boat, that just left Joe's Bayou, and I'm pretty sure it's a legal charter, and they can type it in the computer like, oh, that was a boat we got intel on 6 months ago. And that's what we need to develop and get so we can all kind of come together on this. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
If I may ask you about the investigator that you said would be good to have at the Destin station,
Yeah.
Is that politics, money, a combination?
Politics money. So in the Coast Guard wide, there's 173 qualified investigators. So from Alaska to Hawaii to Guam, Cali, New York, everywhere. And Mobile has 6 from Pascagoula, so they have Pensacola, Destin, Mobile, Panama City, Apalachicola, St. Mark's area. It's tough. I've requested, I've talked to the captain, District 8 knows about my request to try to get an investigator, just because it's hard for me, and it's 80% of my work is investigations when I need to be dealing with other swim
Well,
lanes in my.
hopefully we might be able to help you and maybe even come up with some money for a nice partnership. I know we can certainly get some congressional members to ask, and we would start working on that. And I want to thank you for coming tonight.
Absolutely.
Various of my family members served the Coast Guard, and I haven't forgotten the Coast Guard member from Destin who gave his life about 30 years ago. As the saying used to go, we have to go out, but we don't have to come back.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks
Marty.
for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Sounds to me like the code enforcement needs to man Joe's Bayou. I know. So I'm thoroughly confused too, and I've been here for 50 years, and I still don't understand all that stuff either. But anyway, we'll make it short and sweet. You already have my Parks and Rec Committee plan. I just wanted to go over some of the new things that have changed with Parks and Rec. We're now inspecting all the parks and beach accesses twice a year. We want to do it before spring break, and we want to do it after everybody leaves, basically, for the summer. We want to know we want it in working condition before and in working condition after. So that has changed a little bit. The Arbor Day concept is still there. We're working on developing a plan to get it out. The honor tree program, where people can honor their loved one or whatever with a tree somewhere in the city. So we're looking for that as well. We don't have the guidelines for that. We don't have a pamphlet. We'd like to have a pamphlet of some sort to get out, to put on our website, so people know that they can do this donation. We have a new work plan this time. The committee's usually stuck to those two. And this year we're branching out a little bit, and we've taken it upon ourselves, and our committee literally did plan this. We want to look at whether or not we want to use murals in Destin. And so that's what we plan to look at this year. Investigate what they are, what do we want to do with them, do we really want them on our buildings, any of that, or where we want them, if that. We're working on publicizing Adopt a Tree, Adopt a Park, and Adopt a Bench programs for our parks and other areas. And we want to work with the Destin Master Gardeners to develop a plan for park beautification. One of the things that we have included in this, we didn't list it specifically, is the cemetery. We're looking at the cemetery as part of a park because the Parks and Rec Committee takes care of the cemetery. So it's included in that as well, but not specifically because we consider it part of what our master program is going to be. I did want to answer one question, and I apologize, Councilman Wagner, this has taken so long, but we didn't have a quorum because of illness, so we couldn't answer your question. But he asked us a question about the hours at the parks and why we shut the parks down right after sunset. Basically, the big thing is we don't have any lights. There are no lights in our parks. They're all natural. We're trying to be green and sustainable, and without lights, you don't want to keep your park open at night. That gives you an unsavory element. Also, we don't really have gates on our parks, with the exception of Destin, the new one. So the other thing is, too, there's not enough manpower to man nighttime and daytime people at the parks. So we kind of keep that done. Now, those parks that are lighted, like our ball fields and our dog park, the committee, not the Parks and Rec Committee, but the dog committee at that time, they earned the money to put the lights out there. They did their own thing. We're not opposed to that necessarily, but that's why we're not there yet, because most of that is based on city funds. So, those are basically the three reasons, and we did discuss that at our last council meeting, which I don't think you've gotten the draft minutes of that yet, but you may have. But to answer your question, that's really why we elected to keep the hours of operation from sunup to sunset. And so other than that, I'm open for questions.
I'll make the motion that the city council approve Parks and Recreation Committee's fiscal year 2022 annual report and work plans.
Second.
Thank you.
The only thing I have is, as a discussion, is I would love to help or be a part of working with Destin water users. I think one of the biggest problems with the cemetery, when we were working together with trees on the coast, was there's no water supply. So as Destin water users moves that pipeline around, it's a 33 cents per 1,000 gallons. So I think that'd be a great way to kind of piggyback off them to make some greenery, canopies, and everything else that we both love.
We'll take that into consideration. Since I'm on the Destin Water Users Board, I got that both sides there.
I love how small Destin is.
Yes.
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 Thank you very much, and if y'all have any suggestions, call me.
Okay, we're in the public comment section. If you'd like to make a comment at this time that's not related to a public hearing later in the meeting, please step forward and state your name and push the button.
Jimmy, 748 Benning. Real simple, the Coast Guard, once they get in the water, if it's a bareboat, if it's a legal bareboat, and this is a legal bareboat contract, if any of you guys want to see what a real bareboat contract is, this is legal, been Coast Guard approved. Once they get in the water, they're legal. It's not the Coast Guard's problem. It's City of Destin wrote the ordinance about bareboats. No matter what, if it's a yacht or whatever, if it's not a Coast Guard inspected vessel with their sticker that he showed you, they can only haul 6 people out of Destin Harbor. Destin Harbor is as big as violated as anybody. You're asking from the houses or Joe's Bayou. There's 15, 20 companies down there right now running every day. You can get on their website, see where they offer trips on a pontoon from 1 to 12 people every single day. Last month, I came in here and told you guys about that. The only person that got checked out was me. The only person got checked out was me. Next day, they're down there calling on some of my buddies on the harbor down there, the legal ones. What do you know about Jimmy? You know, and so I put a quick shutdown to that. I went and seen the city manager. The city lawyer went in there that day and told him exactly what was said, made a formal complaint. So then the other day I seen Harbor Master over by Crab Island. I asked him, I said, how many violations have you? None, because I got to catch them loading or offloading. Well, why haven't you caught them loading or offloading? I just can't. I said, their Facebook page, website, they tell you exactly what time they leave out of there and what time they don't. So the ones that's playing by the book, I've got a legit bareboat company out of Fort Walton, okay, that I could, you know, my boats down here, I pay $10,000 a year for each one of my boats through the national park and the county so that they can run 6-pack. If I could run them as bareboats, I wouldn't have to pay that 10 grand to the parks are over there. So it's a big, you know, if they're not going to enforce it, let us all know, because we'll all go bareboat. If we're going to keep the ordinance in, and the ordinance is there so that the pontoon people, you guys get your survey on the pontoons and all that stuff, that's where you wrote it up, that delivery, or however you want to put it. The Coast Guard, once they reach the water, it's not their problem. If they're a legit bareboat in the water and they're not financially gained to the boat or anything like that, and they got somebody operating for the 12 people, they're legal. You have to stop it right here. And the code enforcement officer told me, said, Jimmy, I can't go to the Facebook page and look at them. I'll have to get with city, whoever, and find out if I can go, which I call a big no-no on that, because last year for Trick or Treat, they were on my Facebook page. They thought they were, and they thought that I was running a trick or treat at Noriega Point, and they called me up and said, you got to take that off your Facebook page. And it wasn't even my Facebook page. When I went down there and we got to looking at it, it was somebody else. So they are on Facebook, but then they say they can't do Facebook when it comes to stopping the illegal charters that's coming out of here. If it's a yacht and it's not Coast Guard approved, I'm over the red, I'll leave. If it's a yacht and they're not Coast Guard approved, they can only run 6 people. If I can run more than 6 people in mine, I could bank it. If anybody wants to see what a real bareboat charter, I got these right here. I'll let you see it.
Can I ask a question of Mr. Perkins?
Jim, you said there's 10 to 15 businesses in the harbor that are illegally doing it. You know this because their vessels don't have the inspected sticker? Because if they have an inspected sticker, they can do it after is that what we just learned?
They have a Coast Guard, they're a Coast Guard approved boat.
And so in order to be a Coast Guard approved, you would have a sticker on your boat?
Yes.
So when you say there's 10 or 15 businesses that do 1 to 12 passengers illegally, I'm assuming, based off your statement, that you've seen their boats, and there's no stickers on their boat, and that's why you're
Exactly.
making that statement.
Just had like 3 or 4 of the people that are approved over there that have the bigger boats, that have the Coast Guard approved, that just left here because they didn't know that you guys were going to give the open mic. I told them it was coming.
public's coming.
They've called, taken pictures,
Sure.
sent them to Chris. Everybody's got the pictures.
So we've sent a list of 10-plus companies that are
Yeah.
illegally operating to our code enforcement?
Yeah, they don't
Multiple
have, they
times?
don't have BTRs, they don't have parking, they're running over the 6-packs, they're advertising, 8
Gotcha.
AM, 10 AM, 12, 1, 2, all that.
Okay.
And they're right down there, and the code enforcement, the exact words to me, and I don't want to get nobody in trouble, was, I got to catch them loading or offloading. I'm sitting right there at my office at the Destin Marina. I said, follow that boat right there. He's illegal, he's going back to the harbor. I can't do that, Jimmy.
Jimmy, where do they park their cars? Where are they parking?
I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that.
You haven't seen that? So they could be in the Marlin parking lot
I'm at the
on,
marina. I'm at the marina. I see them come out of the marina. My buddies that are legitimate companies in the harbor, they call me up. They think I got some all inside to you guys. I don't. So they call me up. They send me pictures all day long. The Coast Guard, last week or 2 weeks ago, the boat that they got from Get My Boat that he was talking about, they give us $60,000 worth of fine. The very next day, that boat's out there. I got pictures on my phone where every one of them out on the island sent me pictures. I called the Coast Guard. They said, send it to our website or whatever. I'm out in the sun. I don't have time to do that. So I said, okay. But I just talked to him tonight, and he said, yeah, that company, that the picture that they are trying to get legal, trying to and getting legal is 2 different things. So it's the ordinance. You guys wrote the ordinance, and it's got to stop right here. It's nobody else but code enforcement. It's got to go down there and shut them down. So that's where it's at.
Jimmy, thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys.
We spoke the other day, and you went in depth about this, and, I think we all spend a lot of time on the water. We see it. I've seen them picking up at Noriega Point, parking in the city parking there. I've seen them with my own 2 eyes, hopping on, leaving, coming back. Thank you, nice tip, see you, have a good day. With spray paint on the side of the pontoon boat. It drives me nuts. Just for clarification for anybody who doesn't know, we're talking about Coast Guard inspected vessels versus uninspected vessels. The charter boats you see leaving the pass who have 17 people or 19 people, they have gone through the stability test that this gentleman puts them through and says, you can, based on your height, width, blah, 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 Mr. Destin knows more about this than I do, based on this, you can carry this many passengers. You take the tower off your boat, you can take this many passengers. So just for clarification, if you're not familiar, that's how they come up with how many people you can carry, I'm sure with other criteria.
If they're Coast Guard inspected, they're legal to carry however many that the Coast Guard says. If they're not Coast Guard inspected, they can only carry a 6-pack, 6 people. And
That's pretty simple.
it's basic, that's all it is.
That's where I'm going with this, is your uninspected vessels are your, what we would call a 6-pack boat. And you can carry 6 people up plus captain and crew, which, sure. This is where my frustration comes in with the Coast Guard is how, nothing against any of the livery guys, but how on earth can my friend who has a 45-foot sport fishing boat carry 6 people in to go fishing or a whatever boat, and we can put 10 people on a pontoon boat that looks like it's going to sink?
Yeah, it's
It blows my
100%.
mind. So I would like to direct city staff at some point. I know we're in a little bit of transition here with, sorry, forgive me, I would like to direct city manager. I know we're in a little bit of a transition here, but I would like to have a report, I don't know if it's bi-monthly or of what's being done on the water to protect guys like Jimmy and John and the rest of these guys who are doing it the right way. Even if you can't target people, but even if you were to follow, if you were to pick one person a day, I don't know how that sets us up, but if you were gonna check one person a day, we're looking out for Destin local businesses, and that's a priority. So if you guys have any suggestions, I'm open.
Just to clarify, are you making a motion there?
I'll second that.
I'll second.
Would you like me to make a motion for them?
Well, if one council person can't direct the city manager, takes a
Okay,
motion. under
yeah,
the
sorry. Make a motion to direct city manager to provide,
Johnny, I'd suggest quarterly, because sometimes we provide council quarterly reports, so that might go.
to provide a quarterly report of harbor master findings.
Second.
Yeah, I got some discussion, Mayor. Hey, I got discussion. Yeah, I got discussion. That's gonna be the big question, is the harbor master. I mean, Jimmy, I'd love to help you. I've been trying to help you guys for 2 or 3 years, to get somebody in the harbor. I've made the motion, it's passed. I've talked to the city manager in his office with code compliance. They want to know, what do you want? I want somebody on that harbor that lives and eats and breathes that harbor, a code compliance officer. That's all. When I call them and ask them a question, they don't have to get back with me in 3 days. They got to go count or look or something. That is their baby. To this day, to my knowledge, we still don't have that person. The motion's been made, it's passed, we still don't have it. So I don't know where you're gonna get your report from, Johnny, but I'll support the motion, but I don't know what kind of support we're gonna get or report or who's it gonna come from.
Code enforcement does have a designated officer on the harbor now. His name is Dwayne, and he's working 5 days a week down there, and then we try to supplement that with other staff for the other 2 days, but
Are the 5 days like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday and Tuesday he's off?
that's right, he does cover the weekends. He's working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. right currently.
How does he work the harbor? Is he on the water or is he on the dock or?
Both. We have the boat down there, and
So is this the guy that they were talking about earlier, was out on Crab Island looking at bikinis or whatever, and he wasn't in the harbor doing his job, or? I mean, that's what I said. We want somebody on the harbor, on that boardwalk. I mean, these guys walk that boardwalk every day, and I've walked it, and you see the guy back up to a dock, throws a bunch of coolers and people on there, and they leave. I mean, I've seen it. I'm sure Dewey's seen it. These guys see it every day. So why is this guy out in the boat out in the bay doing nothing? Why ain't he on the harbor? Why ain't he up there in the morning when boats are packing up and leaving? I mean, we all know when they're loading and when they're unloading and when they're leaving. That's where he needs to be, not out in. I mean, I've seen him in Joe's Bayou riding around just putting, not looking for nothing, just burning time, riding the clock. But I thought we had a harbor, somebody in the harbor, not out in. We didn't have a Joe's Bayou or a Joe's Bayou master, or a bay master. We had a harbor master.
I understand, and I agree, and I will make sure that this gets addressed with our code guys.
So, city manager, do we get a quarterly, I'm trying to remember, a quarterly report on all the code violations that we do, don't we?
Yeah, Joey
So we're
had
just gonna
had
add
been,
a section that specifically deals with harbor or livery vessels, or what?
You get a quarterly report
No,
of
I'm
code?
asking the city manager. They do a report
'Cause I don't get a
quarterly.
quarterly.
We haven't gotten a quarterly report.
We haven't gotten one in a while.
We haven't.
No. But
We had some staff turnover, am I right? City manager, the person that used to do that quarterly is gone, and the next person is probably still gathering it.
the person who did compile that is gone, and we're working to see who the correct person is to fulfill that role.
okay, so we have a process. My point being, we have a process. It was a broken process because of staffing shortage or whatever, but let's reinvigorate the process and let's make it a priority. obviously. I think you understand what everybody's saying up here, what we would like to see. And we just want to see, what is, and I understand, code compliance, you got to see them violating. You can't come down 15 minutes later and somebody show you a picture on a phone, and you go out there and try to cite them. I understand that process, but I think we can do a better job, and our expectation is that we will do a better job and that we'll get a regular report from the city staff. Okay?
Yes, let's vote, and we'll start with Mr. Schmidt this time.
Yes.
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 Okay, that one passes unanimously, and I would make just one other comment. We really can't tolerate punitive actions against folks who report code violation. I hope that that was all a mistake, and that doesn't happen again, because that's not the way city government's supposed to work.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate you showing up and helping us understand some of the process and clarifying some of the problems. Keep keeping us informed. Don't get deterred. We need your help, just like the rest of the livery owners that are already doing a fine job of sending me pictures, calling us. As soon as we can get to them, the faster we appreciate you being here, and we know it's frustrating, and I wish we had more staff. We just can't get people employed and trained and done soon enough, so thank you for helping.
Mr. Tadlock, please come forward.
Councilors, I'm Guy Tadlock, 502 Noriega, and there was a little bit of ambiguity, I thought, in some of the stuff that the lieutenant was reporting on, but one that kind of caught my eye was I got hit by a wave runner one time. Fortunately, there was no damage to my vessel, but I have two friends that got damaged by rental wave runners. I'm sorry, there was two friends that had damage caused by rental pontoon boats. But if you looked at the bullet, one of the bullet points was that the charterer had responsibility over anything that the owner's insurance didn't carry. And in both of these cases, one of them, a pontoon boat, hit a dock, and I can assure you that the damage done to the pontoon boat was a lot worse than the damage done to the dock. The other one hit a sport fisherman and basically damaged fiberglass and ran down the side of the boat. The rental companies in both cases said that their insurance wasn't covered. And I don't think at the time, this was last year, one of them was last year, one of them was the year before last. I don't think in either of these cases they were able to get the name of the operator or the charterer. So in looking at that a little bit, if I go rental car, if my insurance doesn't cover me driving that rental car, then I certainly get insurance from the rental car company. Does anybody know that if that's offered by these pontoon rentals? Because I could imagine that there could be some very, very costly accidents that may or may not be covered, by the operator of that charter or the charter company itself. But I was kind of surprised to see that. It certainly could be an issue. So I don't know if that's something we need to think about going forward, and as we see more and more of these bareboat charters go on. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Yes.
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 Okay. City Manager, you have some things to tell us.
Thank you, Mr. Destin. Up first, we have a new software program that will be utilized by the Parks and Recreation Department. And we have Matthew Pace here and Lisa Firth to present an overview of the new program.
Good evening, Council. Just wanted to make you all aware of the new Rec Online program that we've got rolling out to the public tomorrow. We did it internally today, but I wanted to just kind of go over some of the finer points of the program and give you a little bit of a background of what we've done leading up to this point. And what we wanted to do with this program were to meet the strategic goals of the city. So financially sound city, providing service excellence, of course, enhancing the quality of life and safety for our families, and a green and sustainable environment, since this is a now cloud-based online program for residents to take part in. And that's going to help across the board. What we've done to go through this entire process, we've started from soup to nuts here, and we've got it fully functional and implemented, and it is now active and live for residents to go ahead and sign up for an account so they can register for activities, they can get their annual passes, and we can do those things. And we have taken all those processes and made them digital into an online program. So that online access is cloud-based e-commerce, so we have payment gateways that we've worked with finance to consolidate. So now all of our systems are now, I think, one of 2 payment processing systems, so that minimizes a lot of the costs for the city. And we have a fully online functional portal that people can have access to their account, see their activities that they've signed up for, any leagues that they're a part of, or their family members or household members are a part of, and any facility rentals that they would like to take part in many of the areas around the city. Excuse me. These are just some of the screenshots. You can go onto the website yourself. It's cityofdestin.com/reconline. I'll show you that slide a little bit later so we can have it up for the YouTube folks. And this site is completely smartphone enabled. It's mobile ready. It also works on iPads, tablets, things like that as well. So it's a very easy process. We've had several customers today come in and fill out for online passes, Joe's Bayou passes, parking passes, and everything was very smooth. A little bit of learning curve for staff as we were rolling it out, but seems to be very, very intuitive program. We did also incorporate some of GIS features into our program, so it will automatically tell us if people are resident or non-resident based on their address, and we also have a verification method built into the program. And I piggyback this off of our cooperation with the county. GIS data is pulled from the county, and I was able to incorporate it into the development of this program. And Lisa is going to talk a little bit about the enhancements and improvements to the recreation process, which used to be internally and now is both internal and external.
Thank you, Matthew. Good evening. I'm Lisa Firth, Parks and Recreation Director. And as Matthew said, we're very excited about our Civic Rec. I know that will be something that'll make all of our lives much, much better. We will be able to online registration for all of our activities, special events, classes, leagues, and our volunteers that we rely on. So that'll be a really good way to reach out. This will definitely improve our Parks and Recreation. I believe we'll have ways of getting to the public on our deadlines. You'll be able to go on there and see what activities we have to register for. Really, one thing will be really nice is to get like when we have to cancel for weather, we can go on there, and that's really important to get that out immediately to all of our customers. Go ahead, Matthew. And so anyway, we're just going to be able to promote all of our programs, and hard for me to read that right there. As Matthew said, it is all website. The website is formatted for smartphones and tablets. We will be doing all of our passes, which are parking passes, Joe's Bayou passes, Henderson Beach, The league management is going to be very nice. You can pull up your roster, your schedules. We'll have that all online. And you can register and do this anywhere you would like instead of running into the community center. It is going to be available, as Matthew said, tomorrow. Staff has been working very hard. We're ready to go. And we're going to be there to help if you need help. We need you to go, all of our customers need to get out there and set up an account. There is a QR code. I think I'm going a little fast for you, Matthew. Okay. A website, and then the QR code. And that will bring you right to the site. And if you will just get your account set up, we will verify it. Once we verify it, then you can register for anything and everything that we have there. I think it'll be great. And we really appreciate everything that Mr. Matthew has done for us.
When is your last day, Mr. Matthew?
Unfortunately, my last day is Friday here at the city.
We have thoroughly enjoyed having you run our systems, and you will be sadly missed, but we understand it's a very awesome, promotable opportunity for you that you just couldn't pass up, that you have to leave us. So thank you for all you've done, and thank you for being such an integral part of our system here at the city.
Thank you for
We
having me
appreciate
here.
it.
It's been a pleasure being at the city, and truly, this is my home. I live in Destin. I love it here, and I'm glad I get to stay in this area, so which is nice.
I'm disappointed we didn't get like a 2-year notice or something.
I tried, promise.
Well, I agree with everything Ms. Aber said, Matthew. I told you that earlier, but I also wanted to commend everybody on this program, as I believe when I met with Matthew after I got into office, one of the things that we talked about was this software that was coming. So I got 3 kids, and anytime you register for an activity, you fill out a 10-page book for every activity for each kid. So I'm thrilled about it. But just a quick question, from my understanding you correctly, if I'm not ready to register for a sport, I can still go and create my account today, and so it's ready, have all my kids in there, so when the time comes for soccer or whatever, it's already ready, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to spread the word.
Yeah, what we did was we created a welcome page on the website, so you can go in and create your account. What you'll do to verify who you are and where you live is upload your ID for your household, and that will be verified by staff. And once you're verified, you'll have access to register for anything over the course of when they open, the seasons that open or the sessions that open. One of the other things that we added into this was a completely secure document center. So when you do upload your documents, they are encrypted and not stored at city servers. They're stored with our Civic Plus partners, and all of those documents are able to be viewed by certain staff members to make sure that they can flow through. The one nice thing about that is when you upload your ID, if there are multiple events that require that same ID, your ID stays in the system for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years for birth certificates, things like that. So you never have to upload your children's birth certificates again once they're up in the system.
Matthew, does it also work for those of us that are like, annual Joe's Bayou trailer vehicle rentals, getting the Henderson Beach Park
Yes.
pass, as well as the parking pass as Destin City residents? Once you upload your resident ID card, then you're pretty much in the system, and it's easy, correct?
Yes, it will require you to upload your ID every year. In case you do move out of the area, you wouldn't be taking advantage of resident amenities if you're not living here. But you will have that ability to, do it in that year process. And if you are missing a document, it will remind you to upload it. And that way you're, up to date and current with everything.
So instead of you texting me saying, I'm still waiting, I'll get a little ding
You'll
from
get a
that.
little, yeah. And when you log in your account, you'll see notices and things like that. Same things with emergency contacts and things like that.
Mr. Wagner, you had a comment?
Yep. I signed up last night and I got approved this
saw.
morning, so thank you. It was super easy. I mean, I did it back and forth without submitting, so I wouldn't mess up with everything. But I mean, I did it on my cell phone, the tablet, and the computer. It all seems super awesome, so I appreciate you guys. I mean, I don't have kids, but I see this as a huge tool. Woo, but I registered because there's adult leagues in here, so anyone looking for an adult league, I'll be playing this year.
Yes, sir, thank you. Next up, we've got the Tyler Technologies migration to the cloud, and we have Mr. Warren to explain the highlights of that. This is an opportunity for us to use some of the federal funding through the ARPA program to pay for this upgrade. So, Mr. Warren?
Yes, thank you. The item before you is for the SaaS upgrade for both our Munis system, which is our financial system, as well as our Intergov system, which is our Compass system. I will now hand this off to Matthew Pace again for a swan song to talk about this major project, which we're excited about.
So up to my departure here, I've been working very hard on some of the initiatives that we had originally talked about in the 2022 visioning session, talking about moving things to a cloud-based platforms across the city in order to gain a little bit more of our resources back to staff members, gain the ability to have additional outside third-party vendors helping us with a lot of the IT services that are currently handled within the staff right now. And what this will do is take our current suite of services and move them to the cloud, so that we will have the less strain on resources and better service in terms of connectivity, whether we're on-site, off-site. We have a lot of things to consider here. I mean, obviously, the pandemic spurred a lot of this motion, but we also have hurricanes, we have storm events. I mean, as you can see, we've had a major storm every week, I think, for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And being able to work off-site without having servers here in the possibility of compromise is one way of mitigating those issues. But our current programs that we have are the Munis and Intergov programs. Munis is for our finance, Intergov is for community development and code. And moving these two programs alone to a cloud-based platform will enhance services immensely. What this will do is allow us to go to the new 2021 version and move the city to the most current versions of these programs, which have a lot of the features and availabilities of services that we don't currently have. Even though Intergov was implemented not too long ago, it's already transformed into a much better program being online, and allows us to rely on some of those SaaS team members, which will put their services on servers that are not located within the city, but they have a plethora of municipalities throughout the U.S. that rely on those servers, so they keep them up and running at a very high standard. One of the other items of future implementations would be the Tyler Asset Management, Enterprise Asset Management. One of the things Michael and I have worked on, as well as Crystal, on trying to get an asset management system in place. And as we're working with Tyler, this was a really good fit to answer a lot of the questions that council has been having with assets as well. And that program also includes our, it's called the My Civic or 311 incident management. So all of our help desk items can be transitioned to that program and accessed by all staff members throughout the city. I just would like to go over a couple of the key points that we were talking about before. We're definitely less strain on IT staff resources. I know one of the things we had talked about in the visioning session as well was bringing on additional staff members. I think this is a very critical thing for the IT department, in my professional opinion. Having the right IT members is what is the most important factor here. Just adding another tech in the chair may not be the best course of action. However, somebody who does business processes for IT would be a really good fit, because we're transitioning to moving processes to the cloud, doing all of these things that are requiring a mindset that says, okay, how can we better suit the city to handle things like this? And having a business analyst or business process manager or somebody along those lines. I've been working with Webb and Lance on trying to kind of garner the position into a way that will allow it to address a lot of the concerns that are coming up. And having that person in the IT realm is a great idea because they can also lend a hand when we're implementing new software or doing upgrades and things like that. The conduit that we would be for the Tyler in this respect would be a support role at the city. We can continue our high level of support while we also have the support of Tyler in the sense that they have teams working on issues instead of me reaching out to one engineer and waiting 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get a response or try to fix the problem on my own and rely on other forums online and things like that. So we really want to try to emphasize that because we'll have that. One of the other components to this system is a Tyler Detect, which is a cybersecurity element. This gives us a 24/7 SOC, which is a security operations center. It's something that the city doesn't have now. They have me, but you really need somebody that is looking at the network as a whole, going to be able to shut something down if there's a breach or any type of issue. And so what this SOC center does, it will work with the city and make sure that whoever fills my position, whoever's in charge of security roles here at the city, will be able to work with them immediately and assess any problems. And it's from what I've seen in the past, it's a very small price for the security of the city servers and city services like the cloud services. And then the Cloud Access assists with remote support. It minimizes a lot of our VPN access. We can tailor that to a little bit of a better model that would allow for less troubleshooting and less issues out in the field. Code compliance can do a little bit more out in the field than they can right now due to the limitations of connectivity to the city servers. And then IT will also maintain control over the upgrades. One of the big things with SaaS environments is that sometimes you don't have that ability to gain control. And what I tried to work in with our contracts with Tyler was to keep that control within the city. So we know exactly when our updates are going to be, when those can be scheduled, and they can work around our schedule instead of the other way around. Where if something does get upgraded and we have a problem and it takes downtime, I tried to minimize that in our contracts. So I think that pretty much sums up the idea of going to SaaS. I think this was a good general direction right from the beginning. However, it wasn't as possible as it is now. And like I said, with the timelines of all the recent events, this has made it even more prevalent to go into this type of environment for the city as you transition into more online services, more access, more all of those things, and become a true e-city.
I'll move to allow the city manager to engage in contract acceptance with Tyler Technologies to migrate platforms to a cloud solution with a not-to-exceed amount of $429,535. Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Bagby, were you on that list? The contract is for 3 years, is that correct?
The contract for the Munis and the Energov is a 3-year period.
Okay, and it says this agreement, $429,000, is that to who?
That is to Tyler, with the exception of Microsoft for a server for the Tyler Detect, which is the cybersecurity element.
Okay, and so that's for 3 years also, right?
That is a lifetime. The Microsoft is lifetime.
Much better. I'm glad you clarified that for me. The other question I had is, and it relates to public records, and I'll address it to the city attorney. What obligations do we have to preserve public records? Because, and you guys educate me if I'm wrong, but the cloud is really some very large servers located somewhere else, correct? Mm-hmm. And are these located in the States? I know the ones that I looked at were located in Taiwan and Japan.
No, the Tyler services, it's Amazon Web Services is where we would be hosted. They are US-based servers.
Well, that's much better also. And our obligations under public record laws, if they're on these servers, is there a backup, or are they just going to be on those servers? So if something goes haywire with them, we're in trouble?
Well, it's the same as it would be for any other obligation, so even if we store records off-site, like old community development records or whatever, we're still supposed to make sure that we take reasonable methods to secure those records and make sure we can preserve them in accordance with the schedule of how long you have to keep those records. So it's the same application, just in a cyber situation. So as long as we're contracting with an entity that is, this is what they do, they've had a demonstrated track record, the city has fulfilled its obligations. There comes a situation where records are lost. That occasionally happens in local government. It's unfortunate, but the city is only required to produce what is in its reasonable possession and control. So.
Okay, that's the question. Those are all the questions. Our vote, Mr. Braden?
Yes.
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 All right, that one passes unanimously.
Just a
Okay.
few announcements, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to thank Mr. Pace for his service to the city. He will be sorely missed. He helped get us through the COVID experience. He helped get the Intergov system up and running. He's been a true asset to the organization, and he will definitely be missed, so I appreciate that. And while we're on that subject, since he is going to be leaving, Mr. Warren has graciously volunteered to serve as the interim director of the IT department until we can find someone else to take care of that.
You sure that was graciously?
I think so.
I think that was arm twisting.
Also, just for everyone's information, Mr. Zanguzzi is out on vacation until the 20th, so Miss Noelle Bell will be filling his shoes there she is. She will be filling in for Lewis, so if you need to contact her on anything related to that. We also had Mr. Forgione complete his last day of full-time service on Friday, and I have graciously volunteered to fill in as the interim director of Code Department, so if there are questions, please direct them to me. And we will begin interviewing tomorrow for that position. I also wanted to thank Sandy for doing her presentation tonight, and she really did graciously volunteer to help out with training the other committees on how to put together reports like that and the work plan, so I appreciate her stepping up and helping us do that. Some fun things, the annual Easter egg hunt at the library is going to be on Wednesday, April 13th at 10:30 a.m. And then the big Easter egg hunt at Morgan Sports Center will be on Saturday, April 16th at 9 a.m., where we plan to have in excess of 10,000 eggs, as we do every year. A sad note for the City of Destin family was that Miss Cheryl Wyron passed away last week, so I just ask that you would please keep her family in your thoughts and prayers. And I did learn while we were up here tonight that the school district has canceled school for tomorrow, so just be aware of that and keep an eye on the sky and heed the warnings that come from the Weather Service. And finally, I would like to put Captain Abbott on the spot, if he doesn't mind, just for a quick update to show what all these guys have been doing in preparation for these potential pop-up parties that we've been hearing about.
Yes, I'm sure everybody's seen some of the, I think I'd use the word viral posts that have been going around about the pop-up parties. Rest assured, we take, when they use words like, we're going to do what we want, we're going to binge, we're going to take over, we take that very seriously. We have contacted, these are two separate groups, we have contacted both the promoters. They have since walked back some of that language and assured us that the events that occurred in Bay County were not their intentions at all, nor do they support that type of activity. Nonetheless, we will have an abundance of staff on hand, both marked units and plainclothes units. All of our Marine unit will be all hands on deck, literally, and we are prepared for whatever comes our way.
Okay, now we're going to move into public hearings. It appears that 5A has been continued at the request of the applicant. Mr. Baumann, I'll
go down to Ms.
I'll
Cox
just,
here.
I'll, just for the record, I'll just read in the time and date certain. The Indian Bayou West First Amendment, approval for a major deviation to a major development order at 1 Country Club Drive East has been continued to the following time and date certain, Monday, May 16th at 6 p.m.
Yep, we've got the second reading of ordinance number 22-05-CC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, providing for amendments to the Code of Ordinances to establish a flag warning system at city beaches, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the Code of Ordinances, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date, and this is a public hearing.
To speak on this subject? It appears we have none. Council?
I move to approve ordinance 2205CC on second reading and direct city clerk to advertise for second reading.
Second.
Ma'am, that would be a second reading, did not be advertised anymore.
Second reading, period. Direct the last line to be deleted.
Yes, I vote yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't see any
Yes.
discussion, then. we'll
Yes.
vote. And I'll vote yes.
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 Okay, that passes unanimously. Now our agenda. Reports from comments from council. Mr. Braden.
Thank you, Matthew, for your service, buddy. Wish you well.
Thank you.
Can I get just a real quick update on the Royal Heritage Memorial Park? If we're gonna finish that in 7 days? Yes, no, maybe so, maybe not.
Did you say, are we going to finish in 7 days? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
So, my best guess would be I doubt it, but they did pour some stairs, I believe it was Friday. So that part at least is underway. We'll see if, we don't have the results of the inspection yet. They won't be on site till, I believe, tomorrow morning to do the inspection, so.
Okay, and I guess staff can't get in there and do their thing, landscape or anything, until the contractor's gone? Is that true?
We could, except there's quite a bit of stuff on the property that we would need to get out of there. The contractor would need to get out of there.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all I have. Thank you.
Nothing today.
Thank you, Matthew. And I'm sure you've seen the video down at Panama City Beach. The most effective way to clear the beach? Drug dogs. Just telling you, you take it out there and everybody's gone.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I have the TDC, the pleasure of serving for this council and this city on the Tourist Development Committee. And the report that Jennifer Adams, the director, gave us last week, some really good information for this quarter. The average daily rate continues to soar ahead of last year, while occupancy was slightly lower than last year. The year-to-date tourist development tax revenues are up 18%. Organic traffic to the www.destinfortwaltonbeach.com website is up 85%. That's significant. They're very impressed with this improvement of site. Visit Florida has invited the Destin Fort Walton Beach TDC to join them for 2 spring media missions in New York and in the United Kingdom. That's like London, England. That's a big deal because Destin Fort Walton Beach, they literally did not know the Emerald Coast, the Panhandle. In the UK, they just thought Orlando and Miami was Florida. That's it. So this is huge that they've gotten to see that we're a bigger deal, and they want us to come to London and explain all the awesome things there are to do here in the Panhandle. The Coast Resource Team was recently featured on the Discovery Channel and will soon be featured on PBS Nova. So that y'all saw whenever Alex came here and talked about the lionfish and the reef. He was on the Discovery Channel, and they also have him on the PBS Nova. You'll see it launch sometime in I think, mid to end of April. The second annual virtual media event will be April 28th from all over the destination. The Emerald Coast Open, which is the lionfish tournament, is going to be from May 13th through May 15th. And with that discussion about the Panama City situation, and now we've got what's coming to Destin, I just want to say that I hope all of our livery owners, our businesses here in Destin, know that we as their city leaders support you 100%, and I'm sure that the Sheriff's Department's going to do their best to take care and keep things under control. But we back you, whatever you need to do to help maintain that control, Sheriff. We are on your side. So thank you for helping us keep our city under control during the next couple of crazy spring break weeks. Thank you, sir.
Just one very important item. I was asked to set the record straight that my niece Miriam Hicks is 9, not 7. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes, I got a few things. I got in my mailbox, I guess all of us got a letter from somebody. This might be from Mr. Michael, but a gentleman on 104 Country Club Drive West wrote a letter for a year. He's been working on a failing stormwater system in front of their home. Is that something that you're able, I know it's on the spot, but is that something you could talk about?
We're getting quotes together for replacing a lot of the storm sewer infrastructure in Indian Bayou. A lot of that's older corrugated metal pipe, like that fella's. In addition, what Matt presented tonight using that ARPA funding, stormwater infrastructure improvements are also eligible for those types of things. So we're going to be bringing that back to you as soon as we get those quotes together.
So we did like an emergency repair months ago, like somewhere else. That's not the same street or road. It was just around the corner. Maybe we did something we approved.
That wasn't on the same street. That was Indian Bayou Drive in between Country Club East and Country Club West.
So is this particular area going to be done soon, or is it just like a lot of areas in Indian Bayou are going to be worked on?
Several areas in Indian Bayou used corrugated metal when the development was originally built. Corrugated metal has an expected life expectancy of about 30 years. We are well into the 30 or beyond. So yeah, and in many cases that this will require an open cut solution where we will actually physically be digging up the old pipe and replacing it with new pipe.
Has anybody in your staff or Lance or whoever, has anybody spoken with this particular individual?
If it's the house I'm thinking of, we went out and did some repairs, just temporary repairs in advance of this quote coming through so we can get our contractor on it.
Okay. I'm sure it is the same house, but was that recently y'all did some temporary repairs? Because he's writing us on March 3rd, so if we
maybe 3 weeks ago,
Okay.
4 weeks ago.
If this was before or after, maybe if we haven't talked to him, maybe somebody could let him know just that he's not out there in deaf ears. I asked a while ago, and I apologize I didn't follow up, but I had a couple of people on the beach, and I had some business owners send me pictures on one of the last storms that we had come through, and now we got another one tomorrow, and then another one probably 2 days later, and it seems like we keep on getting these 70-mile-per-hour winds that shut down school for 8 hours. But there's the green garbage cans that I guess the county is putting all along the beach, even the city beaches as well. Did that just happen? Like they came out one day and just put them out? Did they talk to us about our beaches, our trash? Or I have a beach vendor that was concerned about it, and now that there's pictures of a burn barrel rolling down the beach, just a green barrel, because they're not being held into place. So I guess my first question is, how did this just happen across the entire beaches What decision was that? How did that come from?
Sure. The county moved to a mechanized system as opposed to the manual system that they were using to dump the old plastic barrels. So the mechanized system with the truck, similar to what we see when we put our garbage out at our homes, has to use the metal barrels. And I know for a fact that Lisa has been in contact with the county regarding the runaway barrels, and they are trying to come up with a solution. And they can't chain them down because then that would defeat the purpose of the mechanized system. So they have to figure out a way to hold them in place or remove them during storms.
So they also don't use trash bags.
That's right, in the current system.
So, and just some feedback that I'm getting is that in the previous times, we have beach vendors that at condos and things like that. Because now, even at the condos, they have green cans. You know, if trash is overflowing, their employees would go out there and bag it up and go put it somewhere. But now we have issues of trash overflowing over a green barrel with no bag. So even though they want to help, they can't help. You know, so that's another issue. I guess it's a labor issue. It sounds like it's easier to pick up the trash. I get it, but it also, from my understanding, I went down there the other day, is they've multiplied the amount of trash bins because you cannot put them all together. They have to be separated for the mechanical thing to lift it into the garbage can. So we're making things very much easier for the county to pick up the trash. I get that, but it sounds like we might be having a negative impact on our beaches. And so just some feedback that I've gotten from owners and citizens that I'm sure it sounds like you're already talking to them, but I hope we keep a close eye if this is a trial period or something. But so far I don't see much positive impacts for the city from this new program. So that would just be some feedback that I have, but.
Yes, if you would have those property owners give me a call, because we are really trying to, the county they're talking to me daily. It's working pretty good on our parks.
Sure.
They're keeping up with it. So if there are some places that need more cans right now,
Sure. I might have misspoke. It's not that we needed more cans because of trash overflowing. What I was meaning by that was in the past, they were just able to take it and bag it. But like this coming summer, they won't be able to do that.
Right.
Type of thing.
And we did get that going last year, and it worked very well.
Yeah.
And we do know that's not going to happen now, but a lot of the vendors are really out there at Crystal Beach. They're all real happy right now. But we just need to stay on top of this, and the county wants to hear our feedback on it. So please get a hold of me, okay?
Thank you. Can we get one of the next meetings before summer, a list from the TDC of what vendors they ended up going with for all of their the local the Little Adventures. All the local vendors, the local partners, the local businesses.
Jennifer's going to come see us at the next meeting, and I will take that for action, Lisa.
Sure.
I'll let her know to come with that, because she has reached out to our ice cream vendors here in Destin, as well as some of the other folks that make some of this stuff. So we are trying to keep it local.
Yeah.
And even from the rental of the little low-speed vehicles where they're picking up people and getting them to Crystal Beach, they're using the local owners of those, and TDC is funding that to those local owners of those low-speed vehicles.
Well, I'll put another task for you then as well. Am I allowed to task council people
I'm your
to do
representative.
things? I know we can't task staff to do things.
You have to task Lance for staff, city staff, but I'm
Okay,
the
the charter's
TDC.
silent on that one. Fantastic. So I appreciate that. It sounds like she's coming. So then I would like to, not just, I don't want vague, ambiguous, we've been talking to people. I want to see who we're using for ice cream. I want to see who we're using for sunscreen. I mean, whatever they're going to promote that they're using, I would like to see who they're using, please. And then I would like to know, and Shardy maybe have shared this, what is their plan? Last year they had a hut. What's their plan for the Crystal Beach parking lot that's not a beach yet, but how are they going to use that this season?
There's this, the same plan is to bring in that building, and then there's also these little miniature, like, trailers, you know, like you see like little pop-up, you know, like campers, and it's like movable. So they can take them to Okaloosa Island, and they can take them over there to Beasley. I'm not sure, I don't want to misspeak. She's coming in to give all of that update
So
on
she'll
the
show us that.
location. I'll make sure that's part of her presentation if it's not already.
Because what I'm hoping, I don't want, is for them to go out there, take over the parking lot, or to take over these accesses that is not just theirs. It's a shared beach. I think we're in a partnership.
Did you go last year to?
did.
So you
I just
saw it
wanna-
was
I wanna
out
do it
on the
ahead of
beach?
time.
But the building itself is on the beach?
On the beach, correct. It's back
Right.
towards the water.
It's
Sure.
towards the water.
I know, but it's not out there yet, so I just want to see what their plan is so we can take a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach after they put it 50 feet closer to the road, maybe, or something. So that's good to hear. Last thing I'll add, and I spoke with Lance this morning, and this is kind of along the lines, I think Mr. Bagby was talking about the processes of the code for livery vessels and Coast Guard and all that, and code enforcement. I think we talked about, Ronnie talked about code enforcement on the harbor. You know, and I know we're in a transition now, and we talked about this today, and whoever the next person that is coming in, you know, our code department has been understaffed, I get that, but we had issues a year ago that we still had a week ago. And so in a year's period, there might have been some improvement in some areas, but in certain areas that are visual to the public, no change. And so I think it's very important that whoever it is, we try to get these just what I feel like are basic processes where if a complaint is put out there of illegal operations by a citizen, by a council person, by whoever, that it doesn't take 3 days to shut down a possible illegal operation. And I know we're understaffed, but if we can't shut down illegal operations within 20, I don't know, maybe I'm misspeaking, but 24 to 48 hours, like, I think that's bad, me personally. And I would hope in our code enforcement in the future, whoever, will be more proactive and will be more receptive to take action quicker. And if it needs help from the council, I will be glad to sponsor any type of legislation to make that happen. Let me know. But I am just, you know, it's a tough thing to chew and swallow when citizens and people have issues. And because it takes us a long time to get to something, when they get there, it's done, or it's gone, or they're already unloaded off their boats, or their contractors have packed up and they're already out of the driveway, they're not building anymore. And next thing you know, they're able to do things illegally. And it's just, it's a sad testament to our neighbors and our citizens and everybody else around us. So as long as what Mr. Braden said, and I'm saying this morning, we had to talk, and I just hope and really encourage to have some very positive changes in the processes, the procedures, and how our code department works. And I just feel strongly about that. So thank you for letting me on my soapbox there. Thank you, Matthew, again. I told you earlier, as I'll echo everybody. I know, tip-off is coming in 5 minutes. I know. I'm sorry. I'm ready to get there, too. That's what happens when you miss a meeting. But thank you, Matthew, for your time and everything, and I look forward to, I'm not sure how we're going to fill your shoes, but Webb's going to do an okay job temporarily, but, you know, but thank you, and that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
I saved mine till last, but I would want to ask a question about the dilemma that Kevin finds with code enforcement, and we've been dealing with it forever. the way the process works, code enforcement writes a code violation out. Theoretically, that goes to a hearing officer, magistrate, where there is due process. How in the world do we just go over and say, catch somebody and say, cease and desist at this moment? Is that even in the process? I mean, if I get a speeding ticket from the deputy going down the road, I get a ticket, I go to a judge, due process takes place. Is there any mechanism that we could shut them down immediately?
When they get issued a notice of violation, they have a quote, reasonable time to correct in that notice of violation. So if they're operating illegally, coming into compliance means either stop operating right now, cease and desist, or within the reasonable time that we give you to correct, which depending on the violation and depending on the code enforcement officer's opinion, could be 24 hours, 72 hours, a week. I mean, it depends what the violation is factually. But if there's a 24-hour you need to cease and desist, that's one way to come into compliance. The other way is to go get your license from the city, or at least apply and be in the process. And depending on if the city determines that you're working in good faith and you're going to get that done, then they might, work with you there. But so yeah, it is possible to do it, but it depends on the facts and what's going on, really. Yeah, well, that comes in if they disagree that they're in violation and they choose not to come into compliance with the day that we give them, then they get their hearing before the special magistrate if they don't come into compliance, and then they will get their due process there. If they agree with us when they get their notice of violation, then they would shut down. Theoretically.
Your microphone. About several months ago, I asked you and Lewis about if there was any set percentage in the areas of the city that are mixed use. Do you have to have a certain percentage of commercial to go along with your residential, vice versa? I think the answer was there was not one. That causes quite a dilemma, because if there's no percentage, then we don't really have mixed use. You could put in 300 units somewhere in a 2,000-foot retail something. So what I'm going to request, and I'll make a motion, is that that you move forward to start the process so that we can have some kind of a reasonable percentage. And I would take it for granted that you would look at what other cities throughout the state have done. Otherwise, mixed use isn't really mixed use. So I will make a motion to that effect, that we give it to the land use attorney to move forward with trying to get some kind of a percentage that we assign to mixed use.
I'll second that. I'd like to see 50-50. 30-70 would be the lowest I would go, but I think 50-50, or if it's doable.
Is there a reason you want to give it to the land use attorney and not the planning department? I'm just,
Yeah, so
The
staff and
process is you go to
staff and I have been talking about this issue since you brought it up. And, staff, they couldn't be here tonight, and I think that's why you're coming to me, because we talked about it. But I did talk with Steve O'Connor earlier today. He couldn't be here, and he said, his opinion was more in the minimum of a 10% to 25% starter for the non-residential portion of the mixed use. But, we'll talk about that. We'll look at other jurisdictions, and we'll talk about it with other staff as well. There was other staff in our meeting, but we haven't talked about it with the entire department. But yeah, we'll come back with some options for council to consider and some recommendations with a minimum non-residential, and go from there.
And that is the intent, that it go to the staff and they work out.
so we're directing the city manager to bring it back to us, whether he uses an attorney or he uses a planning staff,
Now,
right?
of course, the only,
My face is here, and there's no staff other than Noel, the building official, but
and,
We can only task city manager, we can't task you.
that is not correct. There are 3 peoples we can task in here, the 2 attorneys and the city manager, so that is completely acceptable in the rules of the charter. But we certainly want to give it to everybody so they can bat it around and come up with a reasonable solution.
Lance and I will work on it together, right,
There you
Lance?
go.
There you go.
So,
Do we need to walk that on tonight's agenda, or are we just going with supermajority?
think that since it's not on the agenda, it's just
Yeah.
going to go for a vote and needs a supermajority. If not, then it sounds like Dewey's going to put it on the next meeting, and, yep.
Okay, Mr. Braden?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
All
that
right.
one passed unanimously.
Bring it back next meeting.
Lance and I will do it.
All right, now we have land use attorney and city attorney. Do you have any comments?
No, sir, thank you.
None here.
Okay, and now we have public comments once again. Any public comments? Going once, going twice? In that case, we will adjourn this meeting.
Yay!